Gangs of London is the darkest, grittiest, most violent, definitely the bloodiest, yet very deep, complex and thoroughly written drama coming from Gareth Evans, the creator of the Indonesian franchise The Raid. Gangs of London released its first season during the height of pandemic and lockdowns of 2020 and just recently its second season. While new season deserves much praise and an array of videos dedicated to and talking about it, I found my recollection slightly murky on the events of the first season, so let's look back and do a quick recap of what happened before diving into the new season. Gangs of London Season 2 is available on British Sky Channel and on several streaming platforms, free or subscription-based, including Roku, Sling TV, YouTube and Apple TV, and some others. If you haven't yet watched the first season of Gangs of London, I strongly recommend watching it and then hitting Season 2 right after. You will find yourself gripping your chair, white-knuckling for the most part of the series. As for the famous fight scenes and sequences included in Gangs of London, well, those are famous on their own right, and I am planning a special video just on the top fight scenes from the both seasons. And so let's refresh and recap the events of the first season. The show starts centered around the death of the London crime world kingpin Finn Wallace and the very unstable power vacuum situation it brings. This sets the scene for an array of different international and local London criminal families and factions to instantly try and become city's top dogs. Let's look closer at the power struggles that follow. Wallaces vs Dumanis main storyline. Cole Meany plays Finn Wallace and has a short-lived role on the show. He gets shot in the very beginning in front of some youth while visiting secret apartment in Little Albania part of London. But there is no indication of who kills him and why, which becomes the question everybody is trying to find the answer to, including Finn's son Sean, played by Joe Cole. Finn's death leaves a huge void in his family, his main money laundering business dealing with property construction and development, and mainly in London's criminal underbelly. The burden of taking lead falls to Sean. He makes a few iffy moves driven by the need to prove himself and to live up to his father's legacy, to a great concern of Ed Dumani, played by Lucian Msamati, and his son Alex, who runs books for the company and deals with investors, a special dark group of unknown people in charge of literally everything. Backed by his mother Marian, played by most amazing Michelle Farley, Sean takes increasingly rash and harsh measures trying to find his father's killer, and Ed becomes more and more convinced, as was Finn by the way, that Sean shouldn't be running the show. Ed has support from the investors who try a few times to take Sean out of the equation and set Alex Dumani, a level-headed and dependable man, in place of Sean Wallace as the company lead. After Sean learns where attempts at his life are coming from, he distances himself from Dumanis and goes off the grid. He then decides to make a statement by bringing down the freshly built luxury Wallace Tower with a bomb. But before he can finish the plan, he is shot in face by Elliot, undercover cop and foot soldier. Second storyline is about Elliot, played by Sophie Dirisu, who is an undercover policeman trying to worm his way into the Wallace organization. He tracks down Finn's driver and eventually learns who was Finn's killer. First two episodes of the show have two of the Elliot's biggest fights of the first season, and for me personally, the first fight in the bar is one of the most amazing fight sequences ever filmed. It's super new and extremely well choreographed. It leaves you wanting just a little bit more. When second fight comes, it is bloody, dirty, fueled by meth-based adrenaline and sense of drug-given invisibility. But Elliot comes on top once more, proving himself to the gang leadership and instantly taking a well-deserved and desired place in Sean's inner circle, becoming his unspoken bodyguard and right-hand man. He even takes a bullet for Sean, although Ed Dumani remains unconvinced and suspicious. This may be mainly dependent on the fact that Elliot is increasingly involved with Ed's daughter Shannon, played by Pippa Bennett Warner. This plus closeness to Sean give Elliot police supervisors a lot to think about, which is negatively lit when Elliot fails to help a fellow undercover officer avoid the gruesome death. Elliot gets orders to come in, which he ignores. Meanwhile, Sean figures out Elliot's secrets and tries to lure him for the final showdown. Elliot in turn plans to arrest Sean, but is intercepted by the investors, who make an offer Elliot cannot refuse. He agrees to kill Sean and protect Alex as a means to keep Shannon's and his own life and freedom. There, Elliot shoots Sean in the face, then helps Alex escape capture by police. Shannon kills Jean Lucy's character Vic after finding out that she is Elliot's police handler. Luan, a loving family man and crazy gang leader. Played by Orly Shuka, Luan is the leader of London's biggest Albanian gang. He owns the building in which Finn was killed and hence becomes the prime suspect in the chase led by Wallaces and Dumanis. Luan is a crazy gang boss who has a huge ambition and plans for his own empire to grow in London's criminal underground. Having recently carried out a hit on the family of another Albanian crime boss whom Finn owed a huge debt, Luan receives agreement from Finn to wash £500 million of Luan's cash and keep it off the books. Luan is worried to have the deal honored and over with. The money being washed includes a chunk from the ruthless Nigerian crime lord named Mosi, played by Richard Pepple, who needs his money returned to him ASAP. Luan helps save Sean's life during one of the ambushes orchestrated by the investors, and in return Sean agrees to follow up on Finn's $500 million promise. Alex, in charge of the money transfer, fails to deliver, as the whole amount is intercepted and stolen by the mysterious unknown party. Later we find out that it was Finn himself who planned to clean out the corporate accounts just before his murder. Now, though, Luan blames Ed for setting him up, and Ed swears he was also screwed over this. Mosi comes to London with a group of henchmen that use machetes to try and find their money in an investment bank, killing and maiming dozens of employees. Mosi threatens violence to Luan's daughter and wife, which shifts Luan into some beast survival mode. He charges for his family's lives and kills all of Mosi's men, including Mosi himself. Luan's wife persuades him to temporarily leave London. Asif vs Lale and their rivalry. The biggest and most bitter side story is the beef between Asif and Lale, two leaders of the two different gangs. Lale, played by the beautiful Narges Rashidi, is the leader of the Kurdish gang that's in charge of London's heroin supply and distribution. Asif, played by Asif Raza Mir, is the Pakistani gang boss and mafia leader whose son Nazir is trying to run for London's position of mayor, no less. While Asif is lusting for more power, Lale seems to be in this game to find her comrades and fellow freedom fighters back home. When Finn is murdered, Sean demands that all of London's gangs stop trading drugs temporarily, although Asif doesn't have to comply. Lale finds that out and becomes furious that her gang cannot do what Asif can. Then she intercepts Pakistani's cattle-furnished heroin delivery worth £5 million, driven in part by the fact that Asif played a role in Lale's husband's grisly murder. Sean then plans to take vengeance on Lale's disrespect of the trade embargo, intercepts the money she sends to her freedom fighters back home in Turkey, and burns it all, having prior pushed Lale into an agreement to join forces, which is celebrated by intercourse. Asif finds out that his enemy and Sean are literally in bed together and sends an assault team to take out Lale's crew, which she barely escapes. Sean promises to hit Asif back, but is talked out of it by the Dumanis. Lost everything, Lale has one move left, which is killing Asif's son, the mayoral candidate, and she does just that. Asif readies to celebrate son's victory, not knowing about his recent demise. Lale goes back to Kurdistan for the time being. Marian Wallace and her scheming. With Finn gone, Marian takes a more prominent position as Wallace family matriarch. She is a respectable force in her own right. She suspected Finn's infidelity, and via private investigator found out that Finn was stashing away funds, trying to build a new life elsewhere, having purchased a private island and a yacht. She finds out that on the night of his death, Finn was trying to visit a girl named Floriana, who has since disappeared. Floriana is being held by investors' people in some basement watched by a hired gun named Leif. His mother helps Floriana give birth, and while Leif is busy trying to hunt down Sean, Floriana escapes with her newborn child. Later, after Wallace's and Dumanis' friendship collapse, Marian and Ed meet up in some graveyard. She tries to get him to help Sean leave the country, while he insists that investors will kill Alex if Sean escapes. They point guns at each other, and after a standoff, Ed shoots first and we see him walking away. Marian, though, is saved by Floriana, who tries to enlist her help in fight against the investors, but there is no indication of an agreement. Conclusion. Hopefully for some of you this is a quick recap of everything important from Season 1 of Gangs of London. For others, this is an enticing invite to hit the series. For me, in general, Gangs of London is one of the most exciting shows on TV these days. I really recommend everyone to watch it. Thanks for listening, and please hit like, subscribe if you enjoyed this.